Hey everyone, this weekend we visited a place of Arizona history, discovering mystery and beauty along the way as we trekked out to the Dragon Mine in the San Domingo Wash area out near Wickenburg. There is an easier route than what we took, but we were intending to go off-roading anyway, and I'm glad we took the route we did. The scenery was phenomenally amazing. We have been a bit silent at the beginning of this year, initially due to the amazing amount of moisture that blessed Arizona at the beginning of the year. Being that we are typically solo, it didn't make sense to go gallivanting around the desert alone with numerous floods, residual mud, and all the fun stuff water brings to the desert. That, coupled with a few other projects, work that needed taking care of, it put us on a little bit of a delay. But have no fear, we've been able to upgrade our camera situation a little bit with a drone and the requisite licensing with the FAA, as well as a 360 camera and a brand new phone. Still learning a bit about working with the footage from the 360 and drone in log and descent alike, but it was important to share this adventure with you, so I'm going full send on this footage. I'll just stick with the normal going forward, as they will probably be closer to camera matches than my grading at this point. We started out from Castle Hot Springs Road at the south entrance. Turning on North Mine, we stopped at the little campsite just off to the right and aired down. It's all paved and dirt road up to this point, and well maintained, but that didn't stay for very long. The road becomes pretty rutted and rocky the further we get in. The Sport ate it up in normal mode this whole time, from steep grades, rock, and crossing some decent ruts. The beauty of the area is rugged but profound. You find yourself surrounded by saguaro cactus, brush, and other flora along the way. As you get further in, the road becomes less of a road and more just a worn down path that the others have taken over the years, as it becomes the Boulders to Box Canyon Trail. I'll leave a link down in the description to our Onyx route out to the mine. Throughout this section there are areas of off-camber rolling ruts, wash crossings, and rocky areas where it's a good idea to pick your way around sharp stones sticking out everywhere. We didn't see a single person out there, so help may not be around the corner. Make sure you have good communications like a GMRS radio or a phone that's capable of satellite SOS, just in case the worst were to happen while you're stuck out here. After journeying down the degraded and off-road oriented trail, we finally came to the San Domingo Wash and took our turn south. Thus began our run through some of the most beautiful scenery I've seen in Arizona to date. The wash starts off fairly rocky and soon gives way to deep sand and gravel, but it's not always that way. Sometimes you're out of the sand and back into rock, and sometimes you're out of the sand and back on hard pack. It's just a mix. Soon after you started your wash travel, you end up in a rutted rock garden where picking my line became pretty important as not to exceed my 10 inches of clearance. With the sand and gravel, I knew it was probably less of a margin. It was bumpy going, but we squirted out into softer sand and we're on our way. Up close and personal is the name of the game out here in this wash. It brings in the counterintuitive driving paradigm of giving it gas as you go around the corners so that you drift. If you let off, your turning almost goes to nothing. Keeping the gas steady allows for your turns to do almost everything you want them to. At least you can stay off the rocks. A lot of this wash is narrow but beautiful. It's peaceful out here, so don't let yourself get lulled into complacency. Those walls, while pretty, are hard. I may just put a video out of all the cuts that I had to make to keep this short. It sure would be an interesting ASMR. Another note on narrow if you worry about Arizona pinstriping. This isn't the ride for you if that's the case. It will be impossible to avoid them. The encroaching trees and brush squeak down the sides of your ride with a constant abandon. All along the wash you will be squeezing through encroaching flora that wants to reach out and touch you. Eventually you come around a bend into a grotto of sorts. There's a wall or dam. It's hard to tell what the structure was because of the buzzing bees that definitely had me staying back. Off to the side is a single old-looking swing in a tree. It appears to have been there for a very long time. This was a mystery and evokes thoughts of an imagination as to where its origins are. Did someone put it up there for their sweetheart? For their children? There's really nothing around here to explain it. Then it was back to the wash run. Unfortunately, our GoPro was taking a break due to the heat at the moment, and we didn't get to capture the exit from the grotto, which you will need some clearance for sure. The drop into the wash is short and steep. After a short run, we ended up at our next stop. I was able to launch the drone and get a sneak peek at what we were up against. It looked like it was going to be some fairly easy but rocky and rutted roads, same as we had started on. So we took lunch by an old windmill and cattle corral left to be reclaimed by God's nature. You can see evidence of target practicing having been someone's reaction to finding this in the middle of the desert. It's sad to me to see the pieces of history destroyed like that, even if they are being taken over by the Arizona desert. So after lunch, it was time to move on. Now, I'm afraid of heights, and what we were facing was a short shelf road up and out of the wash. I'll speed through most of it, but it was washed out in a couple of places to a point I really had to hug the wall and get off camber to make sure even my skinny Sport would make it up the pass. It was a pucker factor for sure, but we made it up. Eventually you're going to come to a small cattle guard. Be aware, when I mean small, we had only inches on each side to get through. If you have a wider off-roader, you may have to find another route if there is one. Thankfully the Sport's not all that wide. After that, it's just more rutted, rocky, and undulating roads. There are a few more wash crossings, some of them with a fairly tight angle at the bottom, so make sure you aren't powering through the whole ride, unless your rig's built for that kind of thing. Once you reach up to the mine, there's a fork in the road. Don't do like I did and go to the right. If you take the left, you can park your rig right up in the mine area. We were at the top of the mine, and it was pretty tricky to back out without getting in the rough. I'll leave a link below to a page by AZ Off-Road about the Dragon Mine. Their research and video gives much better history than I ever could. In a nutshell, the Dragon Mine operated under various owners from 1917-ish to around 1989 off and on. It was primarily a gold and vanadium mining operation. It sat dormant for an extended period of time between World War II and the 80s. As technology had grown, it was purchased and the tailings reworked to little avail. So it finally shuttered around 1989. Everything was moved out and the eerie concrete foundations and structures are all that's left. From some kind of holding tanks, stacks, and maybe a spot where the mill stood, all that's left are former shadow of the operations that once tried to pull riches from the grasps of the earth. One note of caution, there are open pits around the area. Most of them are guarded by barbed wire, but keep an eye out just in case it's gone or was never there. So now it was time to go back out. On the map, it appeared we could take some roads out and stay on a more even-keeled and less drastic drop out of the area to get back to civilization. Unfortunately, the roads were blocked by none other than no trespassing signs, and we had to go back the way we came. So I drove my acrophobic rear end down the shelf road and into the wash. It was pretty smooth sailing from there on out, just more desert wash driving. But it's hard not to just keep admiring the beauty and being in awe of this place. So I did decide to put up the drone and catch some fast-ish run. The drone's only got a certain speed it can go, so I kind of just kept it right about 20-25, but it was a lot of fun. The Sport just handles that sand like there's nothing to it. Turns on a pretty good radius. Slides a little bit, but that's to be given that the sand's like a good 4 or 5 inches deep. And just handles all the bumps like a champ. Next time I'll be back into the groove of driving and filming at the same time and get some better shots. There was one gate that had to be opened and closed behind us as we exited the wash for the day. Just remember, when you come across a gate, read the signs, do as they say, and always leave the gate in the state that you found it. You may be coming across private property, you never know. And there's plenty of apps out there and maps out there that'll tell you where the different private and public lands are. At this point, it began to feel less like we were in the wilds as current mining or quarry operations appeared along with a paved road. But as you leave, there is a spot where you can pull over and air back up. This is a great ride with mystery and history. If you choose to take this adventure, I'm sure you'll find it to be a great day out with the family and friends. May God bless you and yours. Until next time. And if you liked this video and want to see more, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. It means a lot.